Jana Shushi Sambata Hija Rita Jante Vela
Vasadi Bhagavate Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kapura Kanidodana Shri Ram Ram Krishna Ram Jagat Puri Ram Namayaki Namayaki Lossi Dev Bhakti Dev Lord Chaitanya Sri Ram Sankirtan Shri NityanandaTrayodashi ki, Nityananda's appearance day ki. All glories to the Son. Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Saraswati Devi Murgani Shari Bhakti Shari Shari Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Chaitanya Jai Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Jai Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sarojito Govade Pushpavanto Chito Shamo Kamodo Panchagatakam Krishnam Bhakti Pushpavutakam Bhakti Vidala Bhaktakam Namani Bhakti Shaktakam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radha Shri Vasudeva Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
So today, we read the translation of this song. Yes, I've been seeing this evening too many things to do this evening in a short space of time. There are so many songs about Lord Nityananda compiled by our acharyas, Mr. Lochandas Thakur, Narottam Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, have compiled so many songs about Lord Nityananda, and not surprisingly so. And this is one of them, which is in this general songbook which we have in ISKCON. By Narottam Thakur. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, for faith in Lord Nityananda. The secret of success in spiritual life is faith in Lord Nityananda. There are a lot of secrets, by the way, in spiritual life. This is one of them. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight, not only of one, but of millions of moons. Koti Chandra Shishita, millions of moons. If the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter of Lord Nityananda. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha and Krishna. If one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha and Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Anyone who has not established his relationship with Nityananda Prabhu is understood to have spoiled his valuable human life. Such a human being is actually an uncontrollable animal, because he never uttered the holy name of Nityananda. He has become merged into so-called material happiness. What can his useless education and family position do to help him? Being maddened after false prestige and identification with the body, one is thinking, oh, what is Nityananda? What can he do for me? I don't care. The result is that he is accepting something false to be true. If you actually want to approach the association of Radha and Krishna, you must first achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda. When he is merciful toward you, then you will be able to approach Radha and Krishna. Therefore, you should firmly grasp the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. The lotus feet of Nityananda are not illusion, they are a fact. One who engages in the transcendental loving service of Nityananda is also transcendental. Always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. This Narottam Das is very unhappy. Therefore, I am praying to Lord Nityananda to make me happy. My dear Lord, please keep me close to your lotus feet. And there's a nice purple by Srila Prabhupada, but I'm not going to read it because it's very long. We have very little time this morning to cover the subject matters. Jai Shri Nityananda Ram Ki Jai. 8:30 daily reading, correct?
Yes.
So we're going to read some verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita's invocation verses to the glorious of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. The 5th chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila is dedicated to the glorification of Lord Nityananda. So we're going to read the thread verses of that chapter, on which the chapter is developed. We're going to briefly mention some of the developments. It's a very deep philosophy, and to try to read it itself would be quite take a long time, and it would be quite, take a lot of effort to really enter in there and grasp the subject matter in its completeness, or at least as it's explained. We're going to read from text number 7 of the 1st chapter of the Adilila, a few verses, and then discuss a little bit. Then we're going to move on to one specific aspect of Lord Nityananda's appearance in this world. Sankashana karana toya shayi, karabodha shayi cha payo vishayi, shishascha yasyam sakala sanitya, nanda pragama sharanam mamastu. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshan, Sheshanada, and the Vishnus, who lie on the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean, and ocean of milk, are his plenary portions, and the portions of his plenary portion. Maya pite vyapi vaikuntha loke, Purnaishvarye Shri Chaturvyuha Madhye, Rupam Yasodvati Sankarsanakyam, Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I surrender to the Lord, lotus feet of Shri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshan, in the midst of the Chaturvyuha, consisting of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Arjuna, and Aniruddha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Loka, far beyond the material creation. Maya Vatajmanda Sangashrayadya Ganga Shete Sakshat Karanam Bodhi Madhye Yashaikam Shashi Puman Adidevas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose partial representation, called Karanavakshayi Vishnu, lying on the Karana ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy and the shelter of all the universes. Yasyam Shangsha Srila Garbhodashayi Yadnavyajam Loka Sangatanavam Lokashashtu Sutika Dhamadatus Tam Shri Nityanandam Ramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is Garbhodakshai Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Brahman, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of a multitude of planets. Yasyam shang shang sha paratma kilanam poshta vishnu bhati dugdadhishayi shoni vataya kalasopyanantas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the feet of Shri Nityananda Ram, whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk, that Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the super soul of all living entities and the maintainer of all the universes. Sheshanava is his furthest subpart. In chapter 5 itself, there's a nice summary at the beginning of some of the expansion of these particular verses. Again, we don't have time to read it. Vande Nanta Bhuttaishvaryam Sri Nityananda Ishvaram Yasye Chaya Tatsarupam Agyena Bhina. Let me offer my obeisances to Lord Sri Nityananda, the Supreme Personality of God, whose opulence is wonderful and unlimited. By his will, even a fool can understand his identity. So this chapter 5 of the Chaitanya Charitamrita is quite esoteric, it's quite philosophical, and for most of us it's quite, not so we have to study it very, very carefully, it's not so easy to follow. It describes the various Purusha avatars and the various expansions coming originally from Krishna, Balaram, and it qualifies the fact that Lord Nityananda is none other than Lord Balaram. The expansion of all the various avatars of various kinds, the Chatavyuha, the Sankirtan form of the Chatavyuha, and the consequent further expansions of Sankirtan, and then all the various facilities, foundations, whatever you call it, arrangements in the spiritual world, the basis, the backgrounds, to facilitate the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna and his direct consorts, etc. To facilitate all those, he also personally expands within all of those particular pastimes in various forms, in all the various leelas. He expands to participate, and specifically, Lord Balaram is known as the Adi Guru. Lord Nityananda is the Adi Guru. He's not only he's non-different than Krishna, just the color is different, and perhaps in some senses his role is different. He's manifesting the aspect of the Lord of service to the Lord also, and he takes part in all the various forms of when the Lord expands himself. He also expands to the Lakshman and Ram Leela, and so on and so forth. Nityananda and Chaitanya Leela, Balaram, of course, and Krishna Leela. He expands in so many ways to also provide the Ananta Shesh, when they're both expansions of Lord Nityananda, both Mahavishnu and Ananta Shesh are expansions of Lord Nityananda, and also the various paraphernalia for the various Lord's pleasure pastimes, much coming from Lord Nityananda's expansions. In other words, he's basically the reservoir of facilitating the Lord's pastimes and his various purposes. And it's very esoteric, extension of those various points. Even the Jiva, the Shakti, the Shiva, Tattva, etc. are expanding directly or indirectly from Lord Nityananda. The plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansion, and the whole material universe is basically expanding from the energy of the power of Lord Nityananda. So he's quite not just a jolly fellow, an avaduta, who appears in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, and the reservoir of mercy. He's, as we heard in this particular song, without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, nobody can approach Radha and Krishna. He's the Adi Guru, and he appears in all the various leelas, even in Madhurya Leela, in Vatsalya Leela. He's appearing in all the various leelas to, we see, manifest those particular moods of the various leelas, to show the Guru, to direct how we can perfect devotion in those particular leelas also. Balaram himself is also in a mood of fatherly mood towards the Lord in many cases, being the elder brother, not always the elder brother, in the case of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the elder brother, and in the case of Lord Ram is slightly the younger brother, making a kind of inferior. But in every case, his only mood is to serve and to bring pleasure to Lord, to his worshipable Lord in one sense. Although he is the Lord himself, he's in that mood of service in various ways. So we're going to move on because time tied away from our man, so to speak. We're going to now just delve mainly in one aspect, it's a beautiful aspect of Lord Nityananda's relationship with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. We don't have straight tables here. Well, you said it's going to collapse. It could collapse. Well, I guess everything could collapse. But it's resting on Lord Nityananda, so we're depending on Lord Nityananda to make sure it's the resting place, the reservoir of all the living entities as well. We come out from him. We have to take shelter from in order to regain our normal condition. So this is from a section from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. There's lots of nectar in Chaitanya Bhagavat about Lord Nityananda. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but particularly in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And in other books there's also much nectar about Lord Nityananda. Of course, it's books which are solely wholly about his, say, what's it called? Bhakti Ratnakar deals a lot with Lord Nityananda in Vrindavan also, and Navri is taking a tour, giving a tour of Navadvip to Jiva Goswami, whatever it is. All kinds of wonderful pastimes of Lord Nityananda in various literatures, but particularly Chaitanya Bhagavat. So we're going to read this morning from Chaitanya Bhagavat. And this is from Madhya Kanda. If you have it on your mobile, you can maybe follow. Chapter 3, and we're going to read from text 1, 2, 4 on. Now, tonight we'll be discussing more the kind of pastimes and bit of history. This is just a little part of it, but just in a nutshell, after Lord Nityananda left home, he was taken away by a mysterious sannyasi. And people weren't sitting around with tape recorders in those days, or even writing on the spot what was going on. So a lot of it is, what's heard and passed down from various sources. Generally, it's understood that Nityananda spent 20 years after he was taken away from Ekachakra by that mysterious sannyasi, and he traveled widely, just like Lord Balaram traveled widely at a certain point in time, particularly when the Battle of Kurukshetra was about to take place. So he also traveled widely for a long time. 20 years he was away during that period, because there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to tell them because tonight we'll be discussing it. And he said that he accepted initiation. Some accounts from Acharyas say from Lakshmipati Tirtha, some say from Nagaranda Puri. But either way, he accepted initiation during that period, even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everyone, those who were giving him initiation were his own expansion, basically. And then eventually he came to Vrindavan, where he resided for a fair amount of time, reenacting his pastimes, Krishna even, Balaram. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you may well know, did not manifest his, his Sankirtan movement and his mood of being a maddened devotee of Lord Krishna, so to speak, himself, until he was around about 20 years of age. For the first 20 years, he was more or less enwrapped in his pastimes of childhood, school, his scholarly pastimes, other pastimes. The Lord, he was enjoying that also. But then the time came when he accepted initiation from Ishvara Puri. The time came then to manifest his, one of the main purposes for his appearing in the world. When the Lord appears in this world, he comes accompanied by his associates. Many of those associates appear before him, like the later Acharya, Haridas Thakur, Nityananda Prabhu, Srivas Thakur. Many of his associates appear before to prepare the way, especially Nityananda, of course, being one of his expansions, being Ananta Shesh. Business is like Krishna Lila. He appeared in the womb of Devaki to clear the way after the appearance of the 6 children, whatever they're called, who appeared in his womb previously, and then he appeared as Balaram in the womb of David to prepare the way. So these other great associates, they appear to prepare the way for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world. And Balaram appeared as Lord Nityananda, so also preparing the way. So part of that was his traveling around and staying in Vrindavan and so on and so forth. And then when Lord Chaitanya manifested his Sankirtan pastimes, Lord Nityananda decided it's time to return to, or to go back to Bengal, and specifically to join Lord Chaitanya. For the first 20 years, Lord Nityananda was not in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. He only joined the pastimes, although they're never separated, it wasn't manifested. It was a unique aspect of this pastime, unseen in the other ones, like in Krishna Lila or Ram Lila. They were inseparable right from the word go. The unmanifested, Lord Balaram, in the form of Nityananda, may have been unmanifested in Navadvip and in Lord Chaitanya's childhood pastimes. So then, after 20 years of travel, he was 12 years older, and he left home. Interesting, he left home just at the time of Lord Chaitanya's birth. And went traveling. And on his travels, we've already heard, and then he came back to Navadvip. So what we're going to hear now is the union, the reunion, or whatever, the manifest union between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. It's a very sweet pastime from Chaitanya Bhagavat, which will occupy the rest of our time. This is, I'm not going to read it in Bengali, I can't read it anyway, but it sounds really sweet, but we don't have time to read it. So he went. Nobody knew him in Navadvip, other than Lord Chaitanya, of course. And even if they did, he was in hiding, basically speaking. He was incognito. He went to the house of NityanandaTrayodashi, the great devotee of the Lord. NityanandaTrayodashi was in Mahabhagavad. He saw that the body of fortunes of Nityananda was equal to the sun. I'm going to read some of the descriptions of the glories of Lord Nityananda. My cursor in the right place. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of God. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. Being the foremost of such liberated souls, the Mahabhagavad, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, is the origin of all pure devotees of the Lord. He is most effulgent and is the basis of spiritual illumination. reflection of his body effulgence revives the constitutional position of the living entities. By the effulgence, the light, lights everything up so we can see. He's the original guru who opens their eyes with the darkness of ignorance. By his effulgence. The effulgence manifests in various ways, but basically it's his effulgence. He's the original guru, Balaram, who in every leader who can tell us the essence of, Krishna and how to please Krishna. The Guru's business, teaching us how to please Krishna. The reflection of his body effulgence revives the constitutional position of living entities. Those who are under his shelter can also have similar effulgence who take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Usually you go under someone's lotus feet and you think it's very dark under there. But in this particular case, if you take shelter of those lotus feet, it is the source of all transcendental effulgence. Everything will become enlightened. All darkness will be removed. It's like when the residents went on to go downhill, it was completely the spiritual world. It wasn't like a dark, dirty, scary place. It was a transcendentally ecstatic arena, all arranged by Lord Balaram. In the material conception of life, there is an absence of spiritual effulgence. Until one achieves spiritual realization, he cannot be free from the contamination of forgetting his real identity. When the spiritual effulgence that emanates from Nityananda and destroys the darkness of ignorance enters the heart of a person, it vanquishes the darkness of ignorance. So the effulgence also manifests through his devotees, his pure devotees particularly, and they shine also, enlightening the whole world, waking us all up. Effulgence, which also manifests in various, we will say, in dimensional forms, in the form of words, in the form of service, in the form of many things. In the next verse, Nityananda appeared as a great Avadhuta with a large body. He was always grave and most sober. So, he wasn't, sometimes people, mainly the Sahajas, depict him as a sannyasi who gave up his sannyas, but he never took sannyas. He never took sannyas. He was always in the mood of, he was like a brahmachari when he was traveling, and then sometimes you see him in the mood of an Avadhuta. And he describes, how he broke his danda, and he threw away his kamandalu and this and that. And so some consider that means he was a sannyasi, but no, it's not. Brahmacharis tradition also used to carry these items, small ones, very small ones. So he cast all that away and became a madman of the love of God. Only those who have attained perfection in the sannyas order of life and have naturally become indifferent to external enunciation are known as Avadhutas. Many people are bewildered on seeing the Avadhuta's disdain for external science. When a strict sannyasi attains perfection in the sannyas order, he becomes renowned as a learned sannyasi or Avadhuta. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the topmost of such Avadhutas. His gravity and extreme patience were observed by NityanandaTrayodashi. It's not to be imitated. Sometimes people artificially imitate the mood of an Avadhuta. It's not that they're crazy. They may appear crazy, but they're absolutely absorbed and totally absorbed in the love of God. They have no interest in external things or what people think, social etiquettes, etc. They may follow, they may not follow, but they're totally aloof from all of that. So in the sannyas order, there are many etiquettes to follow. That's why Lord Chaitanya was very strict in following all kinds of etiquettes. But Lord Nityananda, and we may, time is so short tonight also, we may hear one or two of his eccentric and unpredictable behaviors. And he chanted the names, Nityananda, the names of Krishna day and night. He was the abode of Lord Chaitanya, incomparable within the three worlds. So that Nityananda was engaged always in chanting names of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pervaded the three worlds on the support of Nityananda. He is the support of all the pastimes. He forms the support, Nantashesh being the personified support of the universes, basically. And in the spiritual world, the Dham is the support of the Dham, all the paraphernalia of the holy Dhams. This is the devotee Nityananda, which means that which pleases Krishna, at least on the male side. The female side, of course, the expansions are from Radharani. But on the masculine side, they're from Lord Balaram, or Lord Nityananda Rama. He is like the blazing sun in dissipating the darkness of the conditioned soul's ignorance of identifying themselves as enjoyers. These practical manifestations to demonstrate that the jiva is not the enjoyer. Krishna is the enjoyer. Everything is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. Really enjoy it. You may not like it, but that's how it stands. Sri Nityananda alone is most expert in enacting the pastimes of rendering 10 forms of service to Chaitanya Dev. It's interesting, yesterday I was talking to somebody who was one month in Satchidananda Prabhu, who was telling me how nice it was when he first joined, because he said, when I first joined, I just did exactly what I said, what I was told to do. Whatever the other devotees told, senior devotees told me, do this, do that, do this, do that, he said, I would just do whatever they said. And it was so nice. But sometimes when we grow up, we start challenging and want to do what I want to do, not what the leaders want to do. And he said, we have so many problems, and it's no longer so nice. And it's based on that factor of following this mood of Lord Nityananda, who just does what Lord Chaitanya wants him to. Whatever pleases Lord Chaitanya, that's the personification. That is in the form of Nityananda Prabhu. Is the chief, say, the limb through which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enacts his pastimes, whether they're internal or external. And also, he is the main trunk of the tree, Chaitanya tree. The main trunk. Sri Nityananda alone is most expert in enacting the pastimes of rendering 10 forms of service to Sri Chaitanya Dev. Be interested to know what those 10 forms are. I'm not sure. Anyone know? 10 forms of service. Is it Shravan Kirtan? That's not 10, is it? Shravan Kirtan. It's not right. Meditation, Ashram, Bhakti, Darshan, something like 9, isn't it? 9. No other object they can be compared with him. Sri Nityananda is the backbone in manifesting the Supreme Lord among the living entities. Next verse. Sometimes he roared loudly in his own ecstasy. He appeared greatly intoxicated, just like the incarnation of Balaram. Nityananda Prabhu sometimes roared loudly out of ecstasy in order to manifest his pastimes and identity in this world. He was fully intoxicated to constantly assist Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes of disciplined love of God, just as Sri Baladev, fully engaged in the service of Sri Krishna and Braj. In Gaudadesh also, where Lord Chaitanya enjoyed his pastimes, the intoxicated mood and emotional ecstasy of Nityananda captured people's hearts through the help of their ears to vanquish the contamination from their hearts. No one should misunderstand the meaning of the word Nijananda by thinking that Nityananda Prabhu is an insignificant conditioned soul like us. The word Nija here indicates realization of the Supreme Lord. According to material consideration, the Ananda of the conditioned soul is always obstructed, and there is a gulf of difference between real Ananda and their Ananda, and the so-called bliss. You know, Prabhupada said that one time. I said, "Oh, it's so blissful. I feel so blissful." Prabhupada said, "You have no idea what bliss is." Even in our interim stages, you may feel a little happiness or relief. There is nothing compared with the bliss which Nityananda is manifesting or awakening. Nityananda Prabhu is himself the origin of the Vishnu Tattvas, if one attributes on him the material consideration and differentiation between body and self, then one will certainly be baffled in his attempts to realize the true meaning of the word Nityananda. His body is completely spiritual. We'll hear about that maybe time again. Next verse. His attractive face defeated the beauty of millions of moons. His enchanting smile was the life and soul of the universe. Jagata Jiva, life and soul. Koti Chandra, same thing as the psalmist. Koti Chandra defeated the beauty of millions of moons. And he is the Jagata Jiva, the soul of the universe. Because he brings life to the universe. The life is dead. People are just in matter. Sleeping. He wakes us all up. And wake up. Brings us all to our senses. Next verse. The effulgence of his teeth defeated that of pearls, and his two broad reddish eyes increased the beauty of his face. His hands stretched down to his knees, and his chest was high. His two soft lotus feet were expert in movement. His two hands extended. Next one. He spoke to everyone with great compassion. On hearing the words from his lotus mouth, one's bondage due to fruitive activities was destroyed. Whatever came from Lord Nityananda was all auspicious. Even if you chastised someone, kicked them in the chest, rejected them, hit them, whatever he did was always beneficial for the receivers. His mercy was all pervasive. He spoke to everyone with great compassion. One who hears the words emanating from the lotus mouth of Nityananda Prabhu has no possibility of maintaining material conception. The conditioned souls proudly identify themselves as the doers and engage in material activity while considering themselves products of matter. By the way, if you don't know, these purports are by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. If the living entities hear the words of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, then their thirst for material enjoyment will be vanquished, and their constitutional propensities will awaken. He pleases everyone with his most compassionate words. This is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, kind of interesting. He was very... Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached to everyone, but he particularly preached to very scholarly and learned persons, persons who were in elevated positions. So Lord Nityananda took up the role, particularly of preaching to the most fallen, through Patita Bhavana. He specifically deputed Lord Nityananda to fulfill this aspect of his purpose. Patita Bhavana, to deliver the most fallen. So Lord Nityananda, he particularly directed his attention to the most fallen. That's why it's so important for us. We're not even in the category of the most fallen who were delivered by Nityananda Prabhu, who were even more fallen, practically speaking, in many ways. So he's really our source of shelter. Realistically speaking, our only link, our only hope, manifested, of course, through the consequently through the disciplic succession, through the gurus, who were nothing but empowered representatives of Lord Nityananda. Spiritual expansions in some ways of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. To carry on with that same mood, delivering the deep problem, delivering the most fallen. Next verse. When Lord Nityananda arrived in Nadia, there were shouts of joy all over the world. Who could describe the glories of that Lord who broke the sannyas danda of course syndrome? He is directly Lord Baladev, therefore the power of his glories cannot be compared with any other object. How can anyone's power be compared with the power of he who transgressed his exhibition of subordination to Gaurasundra by breaking his sannyas danda, accepted out of formality. He broke the formality. Lord Chaitanya, why are you following all these formalities? He knew who Lord Chaitanya is. And Lord Chaitanya externally was following formalities to show the behavior of a sannyasi and so on, so following all the etiquette. But there are no rules for Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya didn't like that, so for various reasons he broke the danda on top of that. Why, Lord, carrying one of the demigods who was supposed to be worshipping his lotus feet, carrying a danda, and the danda is supposed to be the man, and all the demigods are present within the danda, they're all resting there. And why is he carrying it? He's broken into bits, broken into 3 pieces. Everyone is forced to follow the rules and regulations enjoined by Gaurasundra. When the Lord of the 14 Worlds was personally following the rules and regulations to set example for people in general, Nityananda Prabhu, being intolerant, altered the Lord's exemplary pastimes of following the rules and regulations. That's further explained in the Antikant. The entire universe is purified by chanting the names of He who delivered the fallen, the foolish, and the merchants. When the eternal servants of Krishna situate themselves within the varna and principles of the world, they engage Next verse. NityanandaTrayodashi welcomed Nityananda Prabhu. He fed him and kept him in his house. Next verse. Anyone who hears about the arrival of Nityananda in Navadvip will certainly receive the wealth of love. Those who hear these topics and his auspicious arrival in Navadvip become conversant with his distribution of love of Godhead, or Krishna praying. It means if we hear about this, then we can become conversant with his distribution of love of God. And also Krishna praying. Lord Chaitanya appeared in this world for 2 purposes, along with his associates, specifically to experience Krishna praying, but through the performance of Nam Sankirtan. Thus, accompanied by his associates, he delivered even the most fallen living entities, and he wove a wreath of the holy name and Krishna praying, with which he garlanded the entire material world. So Lord Nityananda was his main instrument, or his main general weapon, whatever, in fulfilling this purpose, to garland the whole world with Krishna praying. When Vishnuvar understood that Nityananda had arrived, he became unlimitedly joyful upon it. On some pretext, the Lord had previously given the Vaishnavas some hint about Nityananda Prabhu's arrival, yet none of them had understood. Oh brothers, within 2 or 3 days, some great personality will come here. By providence, after worshipping Vishnu that same day, Gaurachandra soon met with all the Vaishnavas. The Lord told everyone, "Today I have seen something wonderful in a dream. A chariot adorned by a flag marked with a palm tree, and expert in bestowing the essence of life on all people, arrived at my doorstep. Within the chariot I saw someone with a huge body. He held a post on his shoulder, and his movements were unsteady. He had a pole on his shoulder. That pole, he said, was a plough and a club. He was maddened with restlessness." Next verse. In his left hand he carried a water pot wrapped with cane. He was dressed in blue garments, and his head was decorated with a blue cloth. His left ear was decorated with a charming earring. By his characteristics I could understand that he was none other than Haladar, the name of Krishna, who was the plough, carrying the plough. He repeatedly inquired 10 or 20 times, "Is this the house of Nimai Pandit?" He was dressed like an avaduta and appeared to be most powerful. I have never seen such a personality before. I was respect on seeing him, asked, "Which great personality are you?" He smiled and said, "I am your brother. Tomorrow we will meet." I became most pleased by hearing his words, and I considered myself to be identical with him. While speaking this way, the Lord lost his external consciousness and roared loudly in the mood of Havadar. The Lord repeatedly cried out, "Bring wine! Bring wine!" I hope you have some wine for the offering this evening. Have you got some wine? Can you get some wine for Lord Bala and Lord Nityananda tonight? It becomes Mahaprasada. You can enjoy it. They're tapping the conch for not even halfway through. What a shame. What to do? On a whiny note, we may have to finish this to give us a few more minutes. Srivas Pandit said, "Please hear me, O Goswami. The wine that you are demanding is available only with you. Only one whom you give it to can have it." The devotees were trembling as they looked on from a distance. Oh no, you'll have to wait till tonight to find out what happened next. All the Vaishnavas contemplated. There must be a reason for this. They couldn't understand what was going on, really. They couldn't understand why. They never heard of Nityananda before. The Vedishite Lord recited poems and laughed as his body swayed back and forth like Sankarshan. After a while, the Lord returned to his normal state. Then the friend of Ram began to explain the meaning of the dream. We will have to wait till tonight to find out the meaning of the dream. Shri Nityananda Ram ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai. Shri